Wasabi guys, welcome back to another Magic Market Watch video, almost towards the end of September for 2022. As always, if you appreciate these videos, please subscribe to the channel. Really means a lot. We are getting closer to 42,000. I keep telling you guys it's a lot of growth since last year. Around this time we were only in the low 20,000s. So for this week again, we have a lot of positivity, a lot of cards going up because of genuine interest in the metas. It's another thing I've been telling you about every single week. I want to see this happen more often, where when you get a new set, you get a ton of cards from older sets that spike. And as far as the losers go, we still get some influence from Double Masters 2022. So let's start it off here with the first gainer of the week, and that is Scion, Perverter of Truth. Really going up there because I don't think it's ever been reprinted, and it would be one of the best cards that you could throw into a Shouldered deck. The new Shouldered absolutely being a one-sided Punisher for card draw, so combining her with Scion, you're forcing your opponents to draw more cards. They're not only just losing the 2 life off of Scion, but they're going to be losing 2 life for each of the cards that they draw, so it'll be 6 life that they're losing total. That's pretty impressive. Again, this is from an older set in Kamigawa. It's hard to believe, but it is about 18 years ago. So to go that long without a reprint, there is your reason why it's becoming so expensive. And it was never really like that expensive, so now it's just suddenly getting up to around 20 to 40, where for a long time it was $5. It used to see a lot more play in Nekasar, but then as people became fatigued with that strategy, Scion just didn't really fit in as many other decks. The next card is Unbound Flourishing because of that new commander option from Warhammer. Really cool. I mean, I like X-costed strategies. This goes back to Roshin Manderer, but with the new Magus commander option here, you just have so many to choose from within those 3 colors. And with Unbound Flourishing, you're pretty much getting that much value times 2. And I've been really high on this card for the past year. If you pay attention to my Commander Pickups video, this was one of the pickups that I was calling. It just needed that X-costed commander option, and it looks like we found it. So if you listened to me earlier in the year or late last year, this is exactly what I was talking about. It's now getting close to 15, and it's worth every bit of that. Modern Horizons is still kind of a fringe set. A lot of people opened it, but it has been 3 years. So the supply has slowly been stabilizing as fewer and fewer people have been opening that set. Then we have Magosi the Waterville. Kind of a weird one, but if you can manipulate the counters it puts on itself, you can take an additional turn after this one. What you would do is find a way to put an Eon counter on it. You would have to skip your next turn, but if you could keep putting those Eon counters on it, you could keep removing them in order to take an additional turn. It's another card from an older set, 13 years ago without a reprint, so you have a lot of people discovering that in Commander you could easily manipulate this to benefit off of infinite turns. Pretty much a bulk rare because having to skip your turn to take an additional turn was never really good, but you do have the potential. Again, if we ever get new cards, this is why you should focus on the potential of a card rather than is it busted right now. Because you see cards like these all the time where, wow, if we just had one more card to really break it, it would totally be busted. That happens with so many cards. It's why I make that series Commander Pickups. It's not just because you have a lot of great cards that are cheap, that maybe they got a reprint and their price has been going down. It's actually that and cards like these, where if you get them when they're really cheap, you could end up really benefiting off of something like Unbound Flourishing going up 2 to 3 times its original value. We get some more impact here from Dominaria United. Captain SASE or SASE, never been good with names. That's kind of the thing with the channel. People get on to me, but you know, I'm never gonna change. It's going up. She's been going up steadily over the past few years. Really right around 2017 you could see she exploded, and a lot of that had to do with that rule change all the way back then. What happened was Wizards of the Coast did not originally make Planeswalkers legendary. They just had a specific ruling where if you had a Planeswalker, you could only have one of them. It wasn't technically a legend rule, but then they just said, you know what, that makes no sense, let's just make them legendary permanents, legendary cards in general, so that you can search them with Captain SASE. That was the original reason why she spiked back in 2017. Now she's going right back up because we got Dominaria United and a ton of legendary support, so the legendary theme loves Captain SASE, and it keeps getting stronger, so naturally if you have a tutor on a commander, your deck is becoming stronger, and the other SASE is pretty good too. It's just that this one doesn't cost you any extra mana, it's just a tap. Another one from a really old set, I think she has been reprinted, but this is the first from Invasion. so you're going to see a nice premium on this because of that older border. Next is a card that I think is going up because of the new Braids commander option. If you want to build a commander deck around her, I think she's going to be pretty strong. Jadar, Ghoul Color of Nephalia is kind of like Ophiomancer, but 2 mana, and instead of giving you a 1/1 Death Touch creature, you're getting a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed, it can't block. And if you attack with it, you have to sacrifice it at the end of combat. That really doesn't matter, it's still a good card. If all you care about is sacrificing a creature to force your opponents to sacrifice or let you draw a card, and that's how you would play Jadar Ghoul Color before. Nothing's really changed about the creature. Yes, he is legendary, but not really that good as a commander option. It was to really benefit off of that sack fodder. So I went to check on TCG Player, and sure enough, we have a potential reason why it's going up. I do actually believe that it's more so because of Braids, but we've seen sellers like this take advantage of bulk, and this card is what a lot of people would consider a bulk rare. So I'd be cautious about it. I wouldn't overspend to get a card like this because it's very easy to find. There are people still opening up Midnight Hunt. Realistically, this kind of card would not be expensive until maybe a few more years down the road. And then we have Scion of Draco from Modern Horizons 2. This is going up because it is a domain card. We have the domain strategy in Dominaria United. It's not really my favorite, but this is a pretty good use of domain. Not really having to overspend for something like this is beneficial. Each creature you control has vigilance if it's white, hexproof if it's blue, lifelink if it's black, first strike if it's red, trample if it's green. So if you're playing Jensen Carthalion and that deck is all about 5-color creatures, Scion of Draco is going to put in a lot of work. It's more of a keywords matter kind of card, but the keywords it can give your other creatures, it's pretty impressive. Then we have Untedaki the Cloudkeeper. This is another one going up because of the legendary theme. We have a commander option that lets you draw a card and lose a life whenever you play a legendary land as well as play legendary spells. It does come into play tapped, but afterwards you can pay 2 life to add 2 mana and then spend it only to play legendary spells. Shooting up above $5, I think that's a pretty good spike. Again, you could see it went up back in 2017. Probably right around the time that you could use this to play Planeswalkers. And then we have another one that I included in my Commander Pickup series at the earlier part of the year, either that or at the very end of last year, I can't remember, but this is a card that kind of flew under the radar because a lot of people dismissed it. It wasn't Avacyn herself. You're spending 8 mana for a legendary artifact that just does the same thing, but only for your legendary permanents. That being said, it's still going to synergize with the legendary theme pretty well. It's going to give indestructible to your most important things, the things you really care about, and it just being an artifact does make it a bit more difficult to remove. Believe it or not, it's still going to be difficult to get rid of an artifact if you can't destroy it. So your opponents are going to need to exile it. That's going to be painful for them. It's now getting up above $6. Again, really like seeing this. I like seeing cards go up because of the interest in the format. Now let's talk about some losers. We have War's Toll from Battle Bond. Card's been zigging and zagging the whole year. I don't think it's going to get much below $3, so the fact it's dipping below 4 is not really a big concern. It's one of those fun red cards that not a lot of people play because red is a very weird color. It can use aggression against your opponents, and this is a perfect example of that. You force your opponents to act when they don't really want to. Make them tap their lands when they don't feel like tapping them. Make them attack with more creatures. It's not super practical though. It's not something that you would just throw into any red deck. So that's a big reason why, while it is powerful, it's only going to help so many decks. It's usually for the ones like Fantis, where you want to focus on forcing your opponents to do what they don't want to. We have Green Sun Zenith going down because of the Double Masters 2022 reprint, and that's been pretty steady since the release. You are still talking about a card that's going to be at least $10. I don't see it going much below that, but who knows, it used to be a lot more sought after back in the day. It's one of the better green tutors though, because you can cheat in to play green creatures. You do have to search for a green creature, but unlike a lot of other search cards, you get to cheat a creature into play. So there's a lot to like about it. It got reprinted yet again, but we've seen this time and time again with cards like these. They just need to go a couple years without getting another reprint, and they're going to go right back up. We have Bloodforged Battle Axe from Commander 2017. This was a really weird card because it was cool with token manipulation. You had Brutaclad. I remember that being one of the most fun, weird synergies out there, where you could make all of your tokens Bloodforged Battle Axes, just continue to get more power onto your creature. It was just such an interesting interaction. It's only 1 mana to equip cost. It's been a little bit more expensive for a card that doesn't see a ton of play, but because of the Double Masters 2022 reprint, it has been going down. Went from around 20 to now you'll see it at below 10. And the last card to talk about is another loser, another one impacted by Double Masters 2022, Monastery Mentor. Getting closer to that range where I would recommend picking it up for your decks. Having this type of creature in white is pretty unique. Usually this is a blue ability. Whenever you play non-creature spells, whenever you play instants and sorceries, that's what triggers and gets you things like 2/2s with Talrand. With this, you are getting 1/1s with Prowess, so it's pretty cool. I've always liked this card going back to Fate Reforged, but it's been a hard card to find, a hard card to justify throwing into a deck if at times it finds itself over 30. But now approaching below 10, I think that it might be time to pick it up. It might be time to experiment. It's still a great card. It's still a card you could play in multiple different formats. Prowess is a unique ability, so if we ever return to Prowess, again, speculation, whenever I talk about a card potentially going back up, you have to think about if we return to Tarkir, or anything like Tarkir and we see Prowess again, and there's a specific synergy with Prowess, this is the type of card that could go right back up. So that's gonna do it for the Magic Market Watch. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Commander Void here signing off. I will see you all next time.